FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Well, if you're listening and you've been listening a while, you know that I often like to have other listeners on here. So write me an email. I might have you on as well, especially when they've done something noteworthy, as has the person you're about to hear from. First met him at the first Liberty Mastermind Symposium in Dallas, Texas last summer already. His name's David Barnett. He's written a book that is perfectly in keeping with the theme of the show. It's called Invest Local. You can find it on his blog, investlocalbook.com. And it covers a lot of the topics that we just recently touched upon with Charles Hughes Smith. Dave, welcome to the show. I'm really thrilled to have you on.
Well, thank you, Kerry. It's a real pleasure to be on the air with you.
Hey, so you've written this book. You've got a lot of financial experience in this area of really working with local entrepreneurs to help them finance their businesses.
Yeah, Kerry, it started back in 2006. I was looking for an opportunity, and I actually took a 2-day course from a company out of California to learn how to properly package small business finance applications. And I started a business as a broker of small business debt solutions. I also used to set up capital and operating leases, factoring facilities, which is the sale of accounts receivable, and then regular term loans for businesses as well. And it was during those years that I started to really learn from some of these companies, and my eyes really got opened. There was one particular incident. Someone within my extended family went through a personal financial crisis and was forced to go through an insolvency process, and they needed a car. And people in my family knew that I probably had some money that I could help this person out, but I decided that I needed to take the opportunity to learn from it. And so that was how I did my first ever car lease that I financed myself, and was forced to took all the steps to learn how to legally set it up and get the title set properly and handle the sales taxes involved. And that was just the beginning. From there, I always started to have my eyes open for opportunities to get into what I've come to term wholesale investing. You know, the banks and the investment companies that are out there selling term deposits and mutual funds, I like to call that the retail investment world. It's all packaged up for the consumer to consume. What I call wholesale investing is what the banks do. So when you bring your money in and put it in a savings account, what does the bank do with that money? They go out and they make car loans, they do mortgages, consumer loans, etc. So my whole idea that I started to evolve at that point in my life is, if I'm willing to do a little bit of work and some paperwork, I can start to earn the types of returns that the banks in my own community are earning off my neighbors.
So David, how did that car loan work out to your relative?
It was a lease, and every payment came in, and at the end, I transferred the title and completely over to that person. Uh-huh. And in fact, of all the deals I've done, the only one that has been a significant failure was one that I did involving real estate. And I detail that failure in my book. And the number one thing that caused that deal to go wrong, I believe, is that I didn't have a relationship with the borrower. So in every deal that I do, I have a face-to-face relationship, even if the person's a stranger to me at the beginning. I meet them face-to-face because I want them to understand that I'm a person. It's easy if somebody is in trouble to turn their back on paying, an evil, faceless bank, right? But it's very difficult and dishonorable for most people to not pay your neighbor.
Yeah.
And in this particular deal, it was a second mortgage deal. I split it with a friend, but the whole deal was put together by a mortgage broker. And so that borrower never knew me. And I believe that's why they chose to go down the path they did. In the end, they went bankrupt, and I ended up losing some of my principal. But in all the other deals I've done, whether they've had hiccups or not, I've always ended up getting out with my original principal plus a profit.
Amazing. And obviously, you have to know what you're doing before you get involved in this. And you talk about truly diversifying your assets in your book. That's the first part of it, right?
Yeah. I actually identify 8 different asset classes that I feel represent where people can have their wealth. And some of the asset classes are more difficult for people to access than others. For example, I make a distinction between the shares of publicly traded companies and owning a small business or privately controlled business. If you are not a person who wants to run and manage a privately controlled business, then some of the deals in this book can give you access to that asset class without actually having to get into business. So I give the example of, someone operates an auto repair facility near you. Well, doing an operating lease on a car lift is going to give you a higher rate of return and give you expose you to that asset class without you having to actually go out and start a small business.
So how do you avoid some of the risks of these loans, though? Obviously, meeting your borrower face-to-face, first and foremost, and then you got to do some due diligence on this person to make sure that they're not a deadbeat, obviously, and you got to file your UCC forms, as we'd call them here in the States, so your lien is perfected, but you must have some other ways of doing it as well.
Yeah, my methodology, because I've got so much experience in small business, whether it's personal or business deals that I'm getting involved in, I always take the approach of looking at it from a cash flow point of view. So I need to understand how the money I'm going to invest is either going to increase sales or reduce costs. I need to see that investment in that business, that piece of equipment, is going to end up earning more money than what I'm going to be paid. So if I can see, I worked on a deal once for involving a dynamometer, which is a piece of sophisticated gear that you put a car on so that you can tune the engine while the car is in drive. And the mechanic was involved in racing and showed me what other shops were charging for this type of tune-up service, and that all he had to do was have 1 or 2 appointments a month, and he was going to both pay me and put money in his pocket. That's the kind of opportunity that I like. And sorry, Kerry.
No, go ahead. Sure.
From a personal point of view, I've also done, for example, I had a very successful deal on a mini home, okay? And the sort of rule of thumb you want to look at there is if the payment to me plus the lot rent in the trailer park are less than a comparably sized rent on an apartment, then you're looking at a positive cash flow situation for that buyer, right? Because they're going to be able to rent the land and pay me for less than what renting an apartment was going to cost them. Mm-hmm. So if the deal ends up improving the cash flow of the person you're making the loan to me, that's the greatest security. I've never wanted to touch with a 10-foot pole the idea of, financing someone's big screen TV or something.
What about a personal computer, though?
A personal computer, to me, I wouldn't touch it either because it's an asset that depreciates so quickly, right?
I see.
And the other thing is that there's so much competition out there amongst the retailers to offer financing that the deal probably wouldn't be of interest to me.
0% finance deals and such. And David, going to take a break, but quickly, what type of returns can you get on these type of finance deals?
Well, I show in my book that basically you can start off, at the bottom end at about 9.9. And then I show 4 different ways to leverage a deal once it's done that could put your return up to infinity.
Really? So, all right, we're going to talk more about this up next on the Financial Survival Network. We're talking with listener and author and financial expert David Barnett.
FSN Radio.
Warning, you might live in a no-constitution zone. It's the shocking story you won't see on TV. Depending upon where you live in the United States, you may no longer have constitutional rights. Politicians are quietly squeezing the middle class to micromanage you and extract your wealth. Want to see how? Watch the free video at noconstitutionzone.com. Soon, you'll have the last laugh by using these cultural contraband tricks and profit like a king. That's noconstitutionzone.com.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
And we are back on the Financial Survival Network. Kerry Lutz talking with David Barnett, author of Invest Local. And David, so infinite return, without giving away all your secrets. Just tell us, give us an example of one of those deals.
Well, for example, in one of the mini home deals that I did, I ended up putting out of pocket $10,000. So I delivered that money to the lawyer who was handling the transaction, and along with a letter of direction and the loan agreement. And in the book, I detail what steps were in that letter of direction for the lawyer, what items were in that loan agreement. So the lawyer put the deal together, and I subsequently received back an executed copy of the loan agreement and the perfected security documents. So I knew that my loan was now secured against that. Where I live, mini home is considered personal property. Mm-hmm. So I then turned around and went to one of my good friends. See, the people that are close to me know that I do these kinds of deals. And they are interested in higher rates of return, but they're not interested in doing deals. So I then went with my note in hand to one of my friends and used that note as security to borrow money from them. So what I effectively did is I borrowed from them at a lower rate of interest than what I was earning on the note and reduced my investment in the deal. So in that particular case, the original note was set up so that I would earn 19% interest. And by the time I had finished my leveraging, I had very little money in the deal, and I was earning over 150%.
So it's effectively what you created was a derivative.
Sort of, yeah. Yeah, effectively.
Yeah, it's a derivative. But derivatives for dummies. You could have renamed the book. I love it. It's brilliant, and I've done similar things to that too as well.
Well, I show in the book 4 different techniques on how you can take a deal you've done and then leverage it for higher returns. And I show the positives and the negatives of each methodology. And the name of the game is to try to get a higher rate of return than you can get from a retail investment without getting a commensurate increase in your risk. Mm-hmm. And where I finish off the book is I have a whole section on risk where I identify specifically the different types of risk that can come about in one of these deals. And if you put a deal together and you stop and you think about each of these types of risk, and if one of them is of concern to you, in each one of these sections, I discuss what you can do to help mitigate that particular type of risk.
Sure. And obviously, one of the things that you get rewarded for with a higher rate of return is an increased level of risk. So if you can control that risk, and effectively, the beauty of what you're doing is there is no rational market for pricing these deals, because often, for whatever reason, people can't get credit. They've been locked out of the markets, so they don't have a lot of alternatives. So one thing we talked about was you have to figure out what your return's going to be, time value of money, internal rate of return as well. So you teach people how to do that as well.
Yeah, I do. There's a section in there where I talk about how you do time value of money calculations, and I cover it very high level, and then I refer people to different websites where they can get a more in-depth education. But the reason I do that is because for the rest of the book, each deal I discuss, I then break it down to show people how you calculate the rate of return. And the example that I use in that section is actually at the grocery store. So I use the example of ice cream being on sale. And what would your effective rate of return be if you stocked up on the ice cream while it was on sale? And in that particular instance, I show people how they can earn about a 350% return on their money by shopping more wisely. And that's a deal that doesn't involve any risk at all, Kerry. Mm-hmm. It's just choosing when and where you buy what you're going to use anyway.
Right. Makes total sense because, if you're going to do it anyway, then why not, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And, when you talk about risk, if your neighbor is a top-notch, high credit score individual, and they decide to buy a used car instead of a new car, and they go to the bank, they're still going to be offered an interest rate of maybe 5 or 6%, right? So is that person a credit risk? Because as a person with savings, you could take your money down to the bank and buy a CD that'll earn you 1%. Or you can finance your neighbor's car and even cut under the bank and say, look, I'll do it for you for 4.5%, neighbor. You just quadrupled your rate of return over what you get at the bank. Mm-hmm. And it's debatable. I mean, are you taking a higher risk? I mean, you've got security against collateral. You've got a person who you know. You've got a person who has a high credit rating. They always pay their bills. So that's one of the notions I like to challenge in this book. And as you say, the market for these deals is imperfect because there's so many actors and there's imperfect information in the market. It really does create an opportunity for getting a higher rate of return without necessarily increasing your rate of risk.
And David, how do you find these deals? Do they come to you? Ad in Craigslist? Where do you put them? Where do you find them? I have found one of them through an online website similar to Craigslist. I found a mini home deal like that. I have done them through my own personal networking. Once people heard that I had helped a family member with a car, other people started to approach me with similar opportunities. And once you start to do one or two of these deals, it's amazing how people start to come out of the woodwork. Now, there's a lot of things you'll be approached with that aren't good, but as you start to do more and more of these deals and develop a reputation or people start to know, then you start to look at the world with different eyes, basically. And you start to see opportunity where you never knew that it was lurking before. Interesting. And one of the things you mentioned is never to become a shareholder in a closely held corporation that you're not controlling.
Yeah. Small businesses, and after I had finished my career as a business loan broker, I became a business broker, and I did that for 3 years. I sold 35 companies over that time span. And so I've had a lot of experience looking at the internal financial statements of businesses. One business owner in particular sticks out in my mind. He had given me 6 years worth of financial statements. And every year this company had a really good, healthy profit. And then suddenly the profit disappeared about 3 years before I met him.
Sounds like sound tax planning to me.
Well, when I asked him what happened, he said that he had paid off a bank loan. And that one of the covenants for the bank loan was he had to have a certain level of profitability and certain balance sheet ratios. And once the bank had been paid off, he said, why would I bother showing a profit? I don't want to pay the tax. And the reality is that many, many, many small businesses are operated like this. They're operated for the tax benefit of the owner. And so you don't want to be a shareholder in an organization like that, because shareholders earn money from dividends, and dividends come from profits. Small businesses are a great place to invest, but I always advise people to set up a deal where there is a fixed flow of money coming back to you.
Like a convertible debt, so that if they sell the business, you get to participate, but you're getting a fixed rate of return or some type of return that can increase.
Yeah, and you know, I think that strategy is probably at the more sophisticated end, Kerry. I agree with you. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
I like to start people off with the easy stuff, especially where there's collateral they can go and put their hands on if they have to.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Definitely makes sense. And there's a whole world of businesses out there that need financial help and assistance. And if you've got the knowledge, they probably also need your knowledge too, right, David?
Well, I mean, that's it. And, you know, a lot of famous investment gurus who've written many books over the last 100 years, one of the things I always notice that they seem to keep coming back to is about investing in what you know and taking advantage of the information that you have in your own head.
Hey, great point. And on that, we must conclude. So, David, your book, where do we find you? Where do we find your book?
The book is for sale on Amazon.com, both paperback and Kindle version. It's available worldwide on the other Kindle stores. And there's an ongoing conversation at investlocalbook.com. That's my blog site. So I look forward to hearing feedback, and I hope people enjoy reading the book.
All right. Excellent, David. And if you've got a book or you're doing something that you would like us to talk about on the Financial Survival Network, make sure you write me an email, kl@kerrylutz.com. Love to have you on. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, sign up and subscribe on iTunes so you don't have to go downloading us or finding us on the website. I know there's been some difficulties lately with Firefox. We're looking for a better plug-in on the website. So just go over to iTunes, put in Financial Survival Network, subscribe to it, and then you'll automatically get it downloaded on iTunes. It's a lot easier, and then you can listen to it anywhere, desktop, car, whatever. David, thanks so much for coming on. We really enjoyed having you. It's great to hear somebody, listener doing so well, putting out a book. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, Kerry, and you as well. I enjoyed the show.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.